All right, good evening, everybody. We are going to call the St. Joseph Planning Commission meeting for Monday, June 9th to order. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. All right, we are on to number 3. We have public comments, anything that people wish to talk about not on the agenda tonight. Beautiful. We'll go ahead and close that. We are on number 4, agenda review and adoption.
I would like to make a motion to change the order of the new business. So A would stay number 1, C would become number 2, D would be number 3, and B would be number 4.
Awesome. I got a motion to change 7A, C, D, B. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, we got a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right. We have adopted the agenda. Approval of the May 12th, 2025 minutes.
Motion.
Motion?
Second.
And a second? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? All right, number 6, old business. Nate, A, Bayou Flats Alley PUD amendment.
All right, thank you, Chair. All right, so the Bayou Alley Flats PUD amendment, you recall that this was on for discussion and public hearing at last month's meeting back in May. The commission did discuss and decide to table action on this item at the last meeting. Most of it was tied to concerns about closing off that middle access point and wanting to further understand the possibility of extending the patio and cooler to the north. In response to that, the staff did reach out to the applicant's team and then did ask 3 main questions. 1, what is the feasibility of expanding the patio to the north, and include pros and cons and why not is that possible? And then 2, relocating the trash receptacles and enclosure. Again, pros and cons and feasibility, and why not is that, or why is that not possible? And then the last one was just reconfiguring the cooler. Could that be expanded to the north and aligned there, and then not have the access point closed? And then why or why not? So in your packet, responses from the applicant and the architect were provided. Just to summarize those, relocating the project to the north driveway presents multiple issues, which include poor internal circulation within the property, specifically the garbage pickup, and being able to safely access that current pickup location. Lack of maneuvering, and then lack of another area for moving those trash receptacles and enclosure to. Right now, our code does require that trash receptacles have to be enclosed on all sides. So that is additional space that is needed for those trash receptacles. That creates some problems when trying to relocate that within the current site, given the density of the site. And then the current east side layout supports the functional access of the site, enhances safety, doesn't conflict with the trash receptacle location, and then just the integration of that with the bakery's internal operations. That's a big part of why the cooler is being proposed where it's being proposed. So just some graphics again here that we saw at the last meeting, just showing the cooler, and then a couple pictures from the alleyway itself. Here's some better images here that show aerial, showing the site. Again, those trash receptacles are right over to the north there. The first one in the upper left is looking from south to north, and then the picture on the right-hand side from the audience's perspective is looking towards the west along the site. So the action that is requested tonight is a recommendation on the resolution PC 2025-010. That would amend the developer's agreement, and then that recommendation tonight would be forwarded to the council meeting next Monday. So the applicants are in attendance this evening. and can respond to any questions that the commission has on the project.
Great. Thanks, Nate. Real quick question before we'll bring the applicants up, though. The more I thought about it after the meeting, looking at stuff, is it possible to even close that whole portion of that alleyway off and have an entrance and an exit on both sides? I don't know if that's, you know what I mean? Like, because I don't think our goal is to limit you guys in your business, but it's just that avenue is really, really tight there, right? And just thinking, is it possible to do that on both sides and just cut the middle completely off? Or is that something that would have to go to the council or? So
yeah, I want to
what I'm-
understand it better.
what I-
So are you saying, like, is it possible to expand at the east, but then still have a drive
Yeah, I'm
point
saying,
through?
like, cut the middle completely out, like where they are asking to expand, still cut that, but then all the way across the alley, don't even have that as a point to where they can go
So
through.
how far east is it?
blocking the alley.
You're
Just
talking
right
about
here.
Blocking the alley
Yeah.
from there all the way to.
Just right here. So if people want to get in, they can get in here, right? They can still get through
But
here
that's a one-way going.
this way, right? But that's what I'm
And
saying.
so's the alley. So's the
Right.
alley.
I think that poses some delivery driver.
Right, and
issues.
only trying to put it out there because if you block that whole thing off, right, could you get in and get out? I know that poses some problems, but I'm just trying to
So-
think outside the box a little bit.
Yeah, so the westernmost access to this site, I believe, is the widest access point. And I believe applicants can correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I believe when like garbage comes for collection, I believe they come and then they turn into that first access point and then come through and then pick up the garbages and then go out towards the
The other way.
east.
They
Yeah.
keep going out east on the
Yep,
alley?
to the,
Or they don't
no,
go through the
to,
parking lot,
within
they
the,
go
s-
through the alley.
within the site. So the garbage receptacles within the site itself. So they'll come in at that first access point to the west.
That we want to
then-
stripe, correct?
Yep, and that would be striped. The recommendation from staff is to stripe that no parking in that area, so that area is clear at all times. And so they would come in and then they pick up the garbages, and then they continue to the east and then go out
This
the
way.
easternmost access point.
Yeah.
Yep.
When they do pick up the trash, just to make sure, I want to understand, they don't go all the way through to the parking garage. They make an immediate right behind the bakery, or do they go all the way
Correct.
through?
No, they do not.
If you want to
Yes.
come, if you want to
Yep.
come up to, you can just
Yeah.
say your name, who you are. You might as well. We'll get you guys up here, but just state your name for the record, and then yeah.
Erin McBee, owner of both Crew Farm Flour and Mateo McBee.
Thanks, guys.
So sometimes it just depends on where people are parked in the alley and in the thing, but what normally happens is they come in, take that first left into like the garages
Like going
area.
towards the garages.
And then
Yep.
when they get the apartment garbage and recycling, that's right in that covered area. But then there's also a recycling bin tucked into the little walkway that's at the end of the first garages. So sometimes the dump or the driver will go all the way into that like loop and then come out all the way through the end of the parking lot to the very last exit.
So are you? I'm just gonna say. So we go in here. Yeah. or
Sorry,
we
I'm
go
gonna-
down with the cursor.
Yep.
So yeah, so they go in there, so
Yep.
they'll usually go that whole horseshoe,
The whole
Yep.
horseshoe.
yep, and then come out.
And it changes sometimes season. Now summer they'll pull in, all the garbage recycling on wheels.
Yep.
So that driver will just stay in the spot, wheel the garbage can, pick it up, dump it, wheel it back in, grab whatever the next one is, wheel it back in. The recycling guys, the same thing, they'll push it in kind of where my truck is parked on the screen, go in, grab that one out of there, push it up to the front of their thing, dump it. Sometimes they will back themselves out into that alley, and normally they'll take that full.
Do they ever go through the parking lot and then go out the other
No, they
exit?
can't make that. They rarely can make that.
No, sometimes
turn.
they will go through.
I know, but it's
yeah,
when it depends on if there's a car parked
yeah,
in that
but
left
On the
they'll go
end?
through that.
spot. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
they'll go through that straightway and then go exit through the.
They never go through the second entrance, is that correct?
No, because they can't make that turn.
Yeah, it's too tight right there.
Right.
There's
Too
usually a
narrow.
car parked at the very end of the little
Yeah, that
strip
red
there,
one is
and
right
that
there,
Yeah.
their bumper would totally.
So they can still go in through the horseshoe, but can they cut between the building and so, and then they can come back out. So pretty much kind of doing
Yeah,
that.
But they're
Okay.
always gonna exit through the parking lot,
yes.
yeah.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, I was just trying to think outside the box. So, Okay, open for discussion, or does anybody have questions for? You guys,
So
feel free.
So
Start.
what we did, we actually, you probably saw us today, we're at both in the fire department here, so we actually took one of our trucks, actually two of our trucks today, and tried to get access to the site in the back there. So with our van, we can get in the front one, and then it is tight, all the way around there, but we took our bigger fire truck, our ladder truck, and we came in off of Minnesota, and we took the first left. We could barely make it in there because there was vehicles parked there. Now, I know we talked about striping that, so people can't park there. My curiosity is who's gonna enforce that. And then we could not make it actually around the horseshoe. We could
Okay.
not make it with a single turn with the truck. Or the first one either. We could not make that turn. So I'm looking at access from a safety. So let's say there's fires in that garage there. How are we getting there? We can't really pull in that first exit because we're too close to the fire. We don't want to park that close. So now the middle one's blocked off. We got to back in away from the east one because I don't think we can drive in there and get enough access for fire vehicles in there to be able to do anything. So that was a concern that we had tonight. Go ahead and expand on that if you want, Andrew. But
Just a safety concern. Think you guys have a great product. The interior, from what I've seen, not the largest, and there's typically a line wrapped around the building. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
I think with a patio, and that's just going to increase that problem. And with blocking off that middle stall, it's just going to keep pushing traffic through that westward lot where the line's now, in theory, getting larger because we have more seating. So it was just safety concern on my end.
I guess my question is, where your truck is parked there too, like how often do you park there?
We can never park there. For
Okay.
the beach. Those are our
Yeah.
two garages that we
Yep.
rent. So we would control anybody parking there, especially if you had it striped and marked. And if you can kind of see to that far corner where the recycling is, there's a little white area that shows there's no parking signs there. I'm sure we can get more to put across the rest of them.
Okay.
But they're
We can
only
enforce
in
that.
that corner, that far right-hand corner of the right-hand photo against that garage and then the one adjacent to it to the right.
Yep.
Okay, you kinda
Right
see
there.
that white, see the little white sign straight ahead to the
Yeah.
back.
Okay.
And I'm in the bakery every day, so I think between our social media and me being there physically, we can start telling people not to park there, and I think it will work. It just may take a couple months for people to remember that they can't park there and stuff like that, but
I also think if there's a spot for people to sit down, a lot of times they'll come with families where it's 1, 2, 3 people. If there's one person that can order and other people can go sit down, you won't have as much, I guess, congestion of people standing in that parking lot area also. And I'm sure if they heard you guys racing down the alley, they probably would get out of the way.
Right.
yeah.
And you
I
guys,
think-
you can't turn into the far one either. Did you try over here at all? Do you know? The far,
The middle one or the far one?
far one.
The far one, that's
So that being
a one-way.
far east one?
Yeah.
That would be not from coming in
we'd have
the
to
way
go
the alley
wrong
goes to
way.
make that turn. No, you'd either have to
Okay.
pull past and then back into it.
It's tight.
We can't make
Well,
the
and I
turn,
will-
yeah.
Again, just to make sure that I understand from your point of view, if they put the patio, that turn in, that little access point where the patio is going to go, you can't use that anyway,
Period.
period.
And
because
you're
it's
probably
too narrow.
right, but it just makes it all that more congested in there with people and everything else too.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the point.
But it's
yeah,
not-
you're right. We would probably.
You can't use it anyway, now the way it is,
Well-
because you can't get the truck in there to turn around.
There are bigger
anyway.
ones, correct? Yeah,
Mhm.
that is correct.
Not, yeah.
What does it look like on the other side, Nate, of the garages? Is it all vegetation? To
On the,
up here? Yeah. Is that,
this,
nope, more, right there.
oh, that's all, that's a different property on the other side.
There's
of-
houses over there.
Yeah.
One big grass lot with a random garage on it and then houses on either side.
You know, I look at trying to say it's like if you needed to, could you drive on that side? I mean,
Sure.
because again, when there's a fire, it don't matter.
Depends on what's
Like,
burning though too, is the
Right,
garages, you know,
true.
I mean, we could run through 1,000 different scenarios.
right. I mean, and you never want to see it, but you know, yeah, right here. Okay.
Well, so-
Yep.
so kind of-
Well, yeah. Okay.
This is
so-
just one property. This is actually the interim use permit that we have on
Oh.
tonight's agenda right over here. So,
okay.
yeah.
Good to
yeah,
know.
yeah.
But you know, I look directly behind it. You know, at least there's a big open space there. Maybe we'll talk later, but just trying to see. Okay. Those are just
And-
some of the questions I had. or-
Just to add to, just a point of clarification too, I know we just mentioned some of this and talked about it last time. If the commission were inclined to put a condition for like no parking along this stretch, you can, that is the right of the commission to put that on there. And that would be enforced as part of private property parking.
Yeah, because that's on
that's
their, that's
correct.
on their lot. Is it
Correct.
something to where we could stripe that too? I mean, obviously then loading vehicles could still pull in and load, but just no parking because it's a loading zone, call it?
Yeah, I mean, you could do it, you could tackle it a variety of different ways. You can just do straight, no parking from, whatever time to whatever time along this stretch. You can do the first couple spaces right here, no parking. It's really what the commission feels is best and what would help the situation, I guess, or.
Like, I wouldn't be opposed to striping it if you're already gonna stripe the first one.
First one.
Is that gonna mess with deliveries though?
Well, no, because you could still have the delivery people pull up into it, because they're, for the loading purposes, if that's the only thing that's gonna pull there,
It actually would be better.
right? I mean, because then now you don't have cars that are parked there during delivery
Right.
time, right? I mean, obviously, yes, we have to enforce it, and you guys can get hopefully out in social media, but if you're gonna stripe it, you might as well do that too, as far as no parking / loading zone right there, yep. And you just do the whole thing up to it, I guess, or like to your point, Nate, even if it's the first 2 or 3 spots, because then you could still keep a couple spots there.
Yeah, and I would say just because the overall site is dense in terms of like limited parking, that maybe, from a staff
first
perspective, maybe have
Or, like,
some
half of it.
open, but.
Right, half of it, I mean, because then you could probably fit 2 cars still there on the end, so, okay.
Is that all one property, or is there another property line that goes north-south there?
I'll go back to this. So this is all one property
It is,
right
okay.
here. So
Yep.
this entire site is part of the
Gotcha.
overall
Okay.
planned unit development.
And the parking stalls are adequate to meet the needs of the.
Correct.
Of the,
Yep, correct, because they have the garage parking and such.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was part of the overall PUD that went through and was approved back in 2014.
Do they have extra spaces?
I do not believe so.
They just
The-
utilize the lot that's alongside the other building that Petters owns, the,
And these ones right here, I do not believe were part of the quantity of the spaces that were approved as part of this original PUD. And since 2014, when it was originally approved, there's only been one other amendment, and that was in 2017. And that was when there is 3 units on the lower floor, call it the northwest corner over here, that were changed from commercial to residential units. The original intent of the PUD was to have the whole lower level be commercial. So that was the only change that ensued since the
And
original
that didn't,
adoption.
that didn't bring up anything to add parking with those 3 developments, correct? So they had ample parking per our ordinances?
I do not believe so, yeah, because the site was existing as it was.
Okay.
Yep, there was no other modification.
And the only reason I ask that, because it's like, well, can you eliminate some of those spots so that there's more area to move? But again, just trying to think outside the box, right?
Keith and Andy, just a quick question. Your concerns for safety for the people that are in the patio area, is it from traffic from the alley, or is it from traffic going around the horseshoe and around through the parking lot?
I'm gonna say probably yes, in my mind,
Yeah.
both probably,
Both?
right? I mean, it's a pretty congested area in there.
I understand the alley can get really congested, but I didn't know how congested the horseshoe gets when people want to go, because that's just for the residents primarily.
Right, but now I think it's a one-way.
Yeah.
So
Correct.
we're gonna funnel cars in through that first. If anyone needs to get there, they're gonna have to
If-
drive by twice.
Right, but it's already a one-way going into the horseshoe, into their parking areas. They're already doing that.
Well, and I know if you
Yeah.
close off that middle one, because there's been times too, it's like, I don't know if I'm supposed to take a left in the first or left in the second. So you do have people sometimes that go the opposite way. So again, eliminating it will force them to do that, right? I guess your biggest concern though is getting that big truck in there if needed to be,
Yeah.
Fire safety, yeah.
right?
Safety.
And that's why I said, well, on the back of it, if needed, I mean, heaven forbid there's a fire, we don't ever want that, but
Well, and if I may interrupt, there is a lot of people that go the wrong way daily.
Yep.
Probably at least every other driver is going the wrong way to get out. And they are exiting the proposed space for the patio, and it's a pretty tough blind corner because the bakery
Yeah.
does stick out further, so.
So
from
people
my
are exiting
standpoint,
there
is
too.
Cutting that off to people will, what I think will make it a little safer because it's a lack of, or less chance of a T-bone happening right there, especially people walking around and whatnot. And honestly, if I can just speak, I don't mind not having a patio. That's not my concern. My concern is we need cooler space, and we've outgrown both Crew and Flower and Flowers, so however it will work, I'll be back next time if it doesn't get approved to get a cooler space in the parking lot, because that's the biggest concern here, so I just wanted to put that top of mind, that
And just
the patio is a bonus, but the cooler is what's necessary.
to refresh my memory, the cooler goes just to the east
Of the actual shop,
of the
right?
actual shop.
Yeah, because,
Extend towards those.
yeah.
And that's
because-
kind of why
ancillary spots.
we want to close it off, because that's where it's going to extend into.
Yep, we would like to maximize the space, and that's the only really space that will work inside of the bakery to access it from inside of the bakery.
Yeah, kind of, if you go back to that, remember that arrow kind of in the middle pointed out, there's a gas meter there. Those things would probably have to be relocated to give
Well,
us access out to go to the trash.
I wouldn't even entertain putting a cooler there because it'd interrupt the retail space, and then it'd also be in the way of the garbage trucks, so it's kind of, for me, the way that I envision my space is that's kind of where it would need to go, whether it's going that way or whether it goes alongside the sidewalk that's in the back, and just forfeit, it's either get a patio or forfeit my patio, and either way, I just need a cooler, so however it works,
Okay, thank you.
yeah.
Any other questions, concerns? Okay, well, at this time, I'm going to make a motion to approve Resolution PC 2025, but with stipulations to stripe those first couple parking spots of the loading zone and to add no parking there. And that's what I'm going to do. Do I have a second at all?
I'll second it, and then we can.
Yep, there's so I got a motion and a second. Any more discussion?
I'm still pretty concerned about what you guys brought up about the fire truck, but I'm not as much concerned about the patio and about the cooler as much as I am about even right now. You can't get a truck in there now.
Yeah.
And that bothers me, that we don't have the ability to get safety equipment in there.
Can I ask one question?
Absolutely.
I know we were parked there because we were waiting to come to there, so that maroon van was ours. Had that maroon van not been there, would you been able to take a little wider turn to not have to do that little T back up to get kind of in that circle?
I don't know. The first turn, yes. The first left would have been easier because it was pretty tight there. But actually getting around the other one, I don't think we would have made it either way.
But that's
I
with
think
a
we had
ladder,
to back
that's with
up.
a ladder truck. You've got
That's-
smaller trucks that can.
We have our vans or smaller stuff, but all of our trucks, that was actually the smallest of our three big trucks.
Is that
we
like your
use.
pumper tankers, like to get the water in?
That was our ladder. So we
Our
use our ladder for that. Yeah.
Is the pumper tanker smaller? Is your ladder your biggest truck?
The ladder is the smallest of the three big ones.
Okay.
So we have three large trucks. We do have smaller vehicles. We have a
Yeah.
grass rig. We have a few other smaller.
Where's,
the rescue vehicles smaller.
Where's fire hydrants compared to that back there? Are there some back there?
I think
you know?
there's a water hookup
Is there a water hookup?
on
do
the
you know?
building.
That's for
that
us
would
to
be
put
for us
water
put
in, though.
into the. That's to
Yeah,
put
we
water
still
in,
need water
yeah.
to the truck. Our concern, I think we talked about it a little bit, if, let's say, for sake of example, your two garage stalls are on fire,
Yeah.
us parking our truck there would be,
We can't do that
Yeah,
because it'll
it'd
burn a truck.
ruin the truck.
Right? So
Yeah.
we gotta
It's
get
of some
further
sort.
away.
So would you then, you'd probably park in the alley closer to La Playette at that point, right?
right, or back in if it's on the second story in that L.
Right.
It'd be not a good day, no
But
matter
that
which
means-
way you cut it.
Which we never obviously want that to happen.
Right,
Right.
but
Right,
I
no,
feel
for
like
sure,
at that
for
point,
sure.
the bakery is the one that's in the way, not necessarily the cooler or the patio, right? Essentially?
Right, it's a
It's
it's a
tight all
problem
around today.
now.
Like you
Without-
said, it is
without
tight today.
anything,
Correct.
Even
Correct.
with it, it's a
So
problem.
even if we approve it, you're still adding stuff, but really it's the initial building that was
Right.
already grandfathered in there. Because ultimately it would have been great if you could have just pushed it back.
And I'm sure some of this was flushed out why it was going through the original PUD, but I'm not sure to what extent it was, and what those conversations look like, or that's pre, I think, all of our times, but,
Okay.
yeah.
Along with the safety concerns, you brought up some of the striping and some of the, and I really do think that, you know, if we approve this and go forward with the stipulations for more traffic control, more sign, I hate to use more signs, because they just get in the way, but
They don't.
There was
I
seven
think
right
we
now?
proved last time it's not
it,
effective.
it's not
Yeah,
effective. There's
but
gotta be
you
a
still,
way to get
you still put it in there, it's gotta be effective if you enforce it.
It's gotta be enforced that people know it's a one-way and you can't come back any other way.
And I still think the striping, you know, to the west, and then if you stripe where that is, it's bright, it's vibrant, it's at least gonna say something, but again, I don't think anything's gonna happen until you call and you get someone towed, or you get someone out of there
Yeah.
to where they're like, I can just park wherever I want. So, you know, if it gets approved, it's putting it on you guys as well as the owners that are there to try and enforce it a little bit more to make people aware, like, oh crap.
When people have been getting more bold with their parking lately too, and I've asked people to move recently, so I'm not,
Yeah.
I have no opposition to.
So-
We've even asked Granite City, who, real estate, who manages the buildings there, to do a better job,
Yeah.
but they haven't followed through on that themselves, so it's put it in our hands, so.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't mind getting nosy with people and pushing them out of the way, because
With, you know, with your two garages that you have there, how often are you parking there to load, to unload? Because that's
Well,
Too often.
yeah.
Right, so, I
And it's
mean-
more of a convenience. to
yeah,
walk
and
in
that's
there,
a
but-
big thing, is if
Yeah.
this gets
We're
approved, like,
setting
do you
the
have an
example.
idea of,
We easily could unload and drive away in 5 or 10 minutes.
Yeah.
okay, so not parking there for hours at a
No.
time, right? Because obviously that's,
There's a greater payoff to not
yep,
park there.
Yeah.
yep, exactly, because again, then if you're closing that middle part,
Yep.
you know, and then you're there, well, now you're blocking the only way in,
Right.
you know what I mean? So,
And one thing to
Yeah.
keep in mind too is right now, within that westernmost access point, this PUD, one of our conditions or our recommendations from staff is to have that no parking right there, you know, at all times and such.
Yeah.
So that could maybe help improve that access flow there and
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
hopefully discourage people. But again, signage is only as effective as,
Yep.
Yeah.
so,
all right, well,
yes.
You mentioned earlier, does that fall on the property owners, or is that something that?
It does.
St. Joe Police, okay.
Yep, so any of this no parking that we're talking about, whether it's the westernmost access point or it's the parking that is next to the alleyway, would fall on the owner, which would be John Petters and his team. And we, I think, fleshed that out or talked about that at the last meeting, and I know Petters was supportive of that, so.
so that'd be getting back to him too, right? All right, any other discussion?
I'd kind of like to also add that we should be able to come back and visit this 3 months later, 6 months later,
Sure.
to look at the safety concerns and see if the traffic flow is improved, to see if we've got adequate safety measures in place to protect residents, visitors to the store, you know, just to make sure that things are working, and if something comes up that we need to add to it, that we have the ability to do that.
Yeah, because the proposed patio isn't meant to be a permanent structure. It's meant to be 3 seasons, and we can take it down for winter. So if we do find that it does cause more havoc than anything, it
But the
can be
cooler
moved.
would still extend into the.
There are options to get a cooler that can be removable, but obviously that'd be a pain in
Yeah.
the butt, but
Yeah,
we
right.
could.
In your response, I see you wrote something that takes up the sidewalk and the mulch. Would that be a fix for you? Would that be
That would be, but
second
that would
best case
eliminate,
scenario?
what'd you say?
That'd be second best case scenario?
Yeah, that would eliminate all of my patio that I have right now on that side, but that would work. I think it'd be a little tighter though for cars. I mean, it would butt up right to the road and eat up the patio, or the sidewalk, but, yeah.
I mean, personally, I don't hate getting rid of that middle part. Like, because even trying to turn in their left or turn out their right, like, it just shouldn't be there.
It's
Aaron, do you-
confusing. It adds more confusion.
Yeah.
I was gonna ask, Aaron, do you recall, I don't have it in front of me, how wide that patio or that cooler is?
We proposed 18 feet, and I think that goes from the wall to the curb of the start of that sidewalk, or like a little bit before it.
So if we go from the wall and we go out east 18
Yeah.
feet,
Yeah, that'll
Yep.
pretty much, yep.
yep.
So you'll still have a walkway there.
Yeah,
Yeah, about 4 feet.
How long would that proposed cooler be then? If we were to rotate it?
If we were to rotate it, it'd only go up to 8 feet.
So it's
'Cause-
18 by 8?
Oh,
Pat on the sidewalk.
are you at, like, wait, I'm sorry.
If you
So
put
if
it,
we were
If
just
we
to
were to-
rotate it to
Yeah,
sit
it
flush
And,
would
and
just
that was
be
my
8
original
feet
kind of
long.
question.
Yeah,
That thank
okay.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Yep,
think
that's
that one
what I
would have been 6 by 8. If it were to go alongside the building, taking up the sidewalk.
Oh, so you would actually change size of
Other
it
way,
then,
Nate.
if you would.
Other way.
Correct,
You'd
we would,
say-
it'd basically cut it in half. And the cooler, you know, if we were to able to do the 18-foot, we would do half freezer, half cooler, which is what our, like, issue is right now, is we don't have any freezer space. We would be able to still do that, but it'd be a lot smaller.
but then now you have that cooler that's butting up, and if you don't vacate that, well, now it's even tighter there for cars and less visibility on the out, you know? Okay.
You might get cars trying to sneak through there.
Yep.
Yeah,
You're gonna make the west one a two-way then, right? That's the plan show, right? So that'll be in and out, the west entrance then?
This west
This one?
entrance.
Yeah. Is that correct? That's what the plan shows.
I did see a picture of that. I'm not sure.
I thought that
what
It's on the
page it
plans
was.
that you have in the packet here. It shows arrows
Yeah.
going both ways.
Where's
I mean,
the-
that would be smart, because then it
Page
would
25?
eliminate
Yeah,
parking
yeah,
and then
32, yeah, 25,
less
30.
one-way.
Is there adequate
Head-ons.
space to make that a two-way?
Well, that's, and then to the point of the blind spot, I guess I see the same issue then, because that, the building there sticks out as far as Flower and Flower does, as far as creating a blind spot there, but I don't know if that was the intent or not, I just saw the double
Yeah.
arrows and
Yeah.
Is that supposed to be
yeah.
in the
I th-
drawings, Nate? Do you know?
Well, I think really the only ones that would use this right coming out this way are gonna be the folks that are coming out from the garage areas and then swooping down this way. You know, cause this is still gonna be, that would still be a one-way going that way, right? So you're not gonna have any cars, at least in theory, won't put it against anyone, but, you know, these cars shouldn't be traveling back this way and then back down that way. They should all be exiting over there. It's meant for, you know, folks to come in through this way, you know, park over here and then exit out that way. Or for the folks in the garage to come out and then come out this way.
Well, I
There's a
think it
little
would
bit more
only-
visibility coming out here where you don't have the building and other obstructions that are blocking views as you're coming out this way.
And I think
So-
you kind of make it a one-way still, and, you know what I mean? You still make it a one-way, and, because you're still gonna have confusion. I think it, like, to your point, Aaron, it's gonna take a couple months, but
Yeah.
after a couple months, it should subside a little bit, but, you know, again, concerns are there, so I guess you don't know until it's done, right? But, you know, to Mark's point, I think there's a bigger factor than just this. If anything, it exacerbated the already safety calls that we have going on, even prior to it. So, and to Mark's point, you can come back and revisit it and talk in 6 months, how's it going? Is it not going? Do you need the patio there? Or, you know, because then if you vacate the patio, well, now you have a little bit more space to be able to, for cars to do the wrong thing. But, so, any other thoughts, concerns, comments? Okay, if not, we do have a motion and a second. The motion to approve PC 2025-10 with stipulations of striping the first, call it 50% of where the loading is and there. I have a first and second, all in favor?
Sorry,
Aye.
Are you talking the 50%
Yep.
here?
Yep,
I think you're gonna have to do the whole thing to get an 18-wheeler in there.
like all,
Yep, all 4 spots there.
is that 4?
Yeah, if you try hard enough.
Well, I mean, I don't care. I'm down with the,
Give me a second. I'm gonna try to go back here and, cause I'm not sure how many there are exactly. Usually it's a 9 by 18, so it's about 78 feet there.
I'm good with all of it.
80 foots an 18-wheeler, or
Yeah.
max legal combination.
I did.
Yes, so do it on,
With the striping, so,
and then the additional signage or whatever.
Yep.
We have to come back later.
yep,
That can only be used for
loading
loading.
and unloading.
Unloading and unloading.
Hey, maybe you could park there.
For
For your-
certain hours of the day? Does anyone get a truck after 5?
No, not even, no.
But you still don't want people.
I
parking
still
in the
wouldn't
heat.
park there.
No, and we, as, like, Bello Cucina, La Playa, as restaurant owners, we can tell our drivers that they should veer off into the stripe zone to load and unload, to
Yeah.
keep the alleyway open. We are
Okay.
able to do that. Will they listen all the time? Maybe not, but the more we push our reps to tell the drivers to do it, they will do it.
And most of them, we try to do a key drop, so at least 2 of them come before 6 AM.
Oh, that's good too. I still say you
It's just
stripe it
it's
and
more
it's
than
just no
liquor
parking,
stores.
period.
Yeah.
So the motion is to approve Resolution PC 2025 with the additional striping where those 4 spots are. All in favor, please signify by aye. Aye. All opposed? Whoa, you got more?
No, you just left off, I mean, when we talked about the ability to come back 6 months later.
Oh.
You know, any additional signage that we need. I just want to make sure that. gets-
So do you want that in the motion as well? Okay, well, let's retry this
So,
again.
yeah, I'd say let's do
Okay,
a new.
I'm gonna make a
new
motion to approve Resolution PC 2025 with -10 with the stipulations to stripe those 4 spots and come back in, what do you want, 3 months or 6 months? 6 months to talk about adding more signage there through the city. Safety and security.
So to add more signage
For
in
no-
6 months, but not add the
Or
signage?
I would say just do it.
Review the safety issues to make sure that we're doing everything we can.
Okay,
With the added signage in place?
Yeah, I would say put the added signage in place right away.
Right away.
right, right, okay.
Okay, so that's the motion.
Second.
I got a second. Any more discussion? All in favor signify by aye. Aye. Anybody opposed?
Nay. Nay.
All right, well, it's 2-2, so unfortunately, the motion does not pass.
Okay.
That's what I've got.
Okay, so it'd be a failed motion, so then it would, before that recommendation, be forwarded on to the council for their meeting next Monday, so a failed motion does not pass.
Yep,
Yep, so,
okay.
okay.
Thank you. All right, we are going to move on to 7. Now, we've got a little bit of change, so we're going to start with 7A.
Awesome, thank you, Chair. So we have an interim use permit being proposed. This is a renewal. So it is for a residential rental within a B1 downtown commercial district. So this interim use permit is up for renewal. It was approved back in 2020 and was approved with a 5-year maximum term for the interim use. So I included a couple of graphics. I know some of this is kind of hard to read on the screen up here, but just to show the surrounding area. So that subject property, and call it the neon green right there in the left-hand picture. That's the property that we are referencing, just north of the property we were just talking about with the last council, or the last agenda item. The properties across to the north are either residential in use or also residential rental. However, in that picture to the right, you can see that blue color. All the properties to the north, west, and northwest would be in our zoned B1 downtown commercial. So the action for this evening is to open and close that public hearing, and then the second step would be a recommendation on the resolution PC 2025-012, which would approve the finding of fact and issue a renewal for the interim use permit. One item that do request for discussion is the appropriate duration. We've talked about the duration in the past with other interim use permits. We have in the language right now drafted a 5-year max on there. We did include graphics from the applicant, though, who does intend to convert the property to a commercial use in the future. So, and is thinking about those things already. So, with that, I'd be happy to answer questions. Otherwise, we'd be looking for that public hearing and then that action on that resolution.
Any comments from the commission? All right, if not, I will go ahead and open the public hearing. Does anybody wish to come up and speak? Don't all jump at once. All right, I will go ahead and close the public hearing. So now we are looking for a motion to approve resolution 2025-12, the adopting a finding of fact. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion.
I have a motion
I'll second.
and a second. Any more discussion? All in favor?
And just real quick, Chair.
Oh.
So that motion, so the drafted resolution had the
Yep.
5-year term. So I
Yeah.
just want to make sure that the commission's
Yep.
good. Okay.
Yeah, so
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think we had any change with it.
I
Okay,
read
thank
that
you.
3 to 5 years, they
3 to
might,
5
Yeah.
years.
they might be developing within
Yep.
3 years, and that's all good on our side?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So it's
Okay.
with
Thank
the finding of facts with 5 years.
As drafted. Okay.
Are we good?
Yep. Thank you. Sorry.
All approved? Aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, that one passes. Now we're moving on to what would be C. And keep me honest here, I'll go back to my pages. So the next one would be, all right, the rezone request. Yep, Kleppers rezone for lots 1 through 3, Block 2, K&L Properties.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So, yes, so this is one project proposal, but with this one project proposal, there is a multitude of different steps involved. In sequential order, there's the rezone, and then there's the future land use amendment, and then the preliminary PUD plan. So, the rezone is to align the proposed use with the proper zoning. And then the amendment to the future land use is to then amend the future land use with that zoning. And then the PUD preliminary plan is to allow the increased density and stormwater pond dedication, which we'll talk about shortly. And then future steps, if all these items were recommended for approval and then approved by the council, would be to come back with a final PUD plan and execute the PUD agreement, and then vacate interior easements between the lots, and then do a pre and final plat. So, rezone proposal, so the 3 subject lots that we are talking about are, the total acreage is just above 3 acres or so, and they are located what we call south of Quick Trip East. So we have 20th Avenue on the eastern side and Minnesota Street on the northern side. These 3 lots are currently zoned B2, which is highway business. So then that map to the right-hand side on your screen, all the red area is B2 highway business. To the south of the site, that beige color is R3 multifamily. And then to the southwest is a PUD with a R1 zoning designation. And then further over to the west again is B2 in that red color. So the applicants do currently own the parcel directly to the south, which is the other apartment complex to the south. This is just the zoning map showing the overall city here, and then I included a table. This is also in your packets, just again alluding to how the zoning is for the surrounding area, and then how the future guidance is for that surrounding area. So the future guidance matches the current zoning around the adjacent parcels. Purpose for the rezone is the applicant is wishing to construct a 42-unit multifamily apartment building with a PUD overlay district. Just some more background within the city, the number of lots that we have that are B2 highway commercial, we have about half a dozen or so that are shovel-ready right now, and those shovel-ready ones are mostly in the proximity of the current area, just to the west of the subject parcels. And then we have 3 other apartment lots that are available throughout the entire city, with one of those being shovel-ready. They would just have to get a permit to construct, and then the other 2 need to be final platted. So we don't have a lot of other apartment areas that are ripe for zoning now or guided for multifamily in the future. The areas that we do have, there's not existing infrastructure that can service those areas. So this is a future land use. Again, some of these colors might be a little bit hard to differentiate on the screen, but high density residential is a darker brown on this. So you can kind of see as we go like on 75 west of town, There's some pockets over there as we go on County Road 133 out towards like Sartell. There's a little pocket over there. Those are all future high density areas. Now those could change if someone were to request that changing. And all those areas that you can kind of see there are not connected and not next to a lot of the existing infrastructure. R3 zoning. So of course, multifamily apartments are allowed. I just wanted to highlight some other things that are allowed within this district. For permitted uses, we include other things like churches, libraries, townhouses, in-home daycares, residential facilities for group homes. And there's some other conditional uses as well, including public buildings, manufactured home parks, and then uses that the Planning Commission deems similar to these listed uses. Within the current zoning of B2, we do allow any use that's permitted in our downtown district. We also allow other things like automobile repair, convenience stores, funeral homes, grocery stores, hotel motels, places of worship, retail stores. And then for conditional uses, things like pet boarding, things like dealerships, newer used dealerships, and lumber yards. So I just wanted to point those out so the commission fully understands kind of what is allowed right now and what, could be allowed with the rezone as well. So again, the rezone's being sought. The PUD specifically is being sought due to the proposed density of the 42 units. During discussions with the applicant, we determined that the R3 zoning alone wouldn't be enough because there's density limits for R3 zoning. So it depends on the exact number of 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedroom, and what that makeup is on how many would be allowed. But a safe estimate is around 36 to 38 units for R3. So they're proposing slightly more. And then with that, they can go that route with a PUD and have increased density. Part of the discussions has also included that the city needs stormwater ponding along that corridor. So a PUD is part of the PUD requires the applicant to provide public benefit from the project. So we actually suggested that the ponding could serve as that public benefit. Right now, the preliminary plans that you have seen in your packets, the stormwater ponding area is about 5.5 times larger than what it would be if it was just the apartment's ponding needs being serviced. So that increase essentially accounts for those 3 subject lots, one of those 3 subject lots being a stormwater ponding area.
Itself. Okay.
Yep. So one conflict that we did cover is that within a PUD, stormwater ponding areas are supposed to be subtracted from the total lot area, which would have impacted the density that would be allowed. However, in this instance, the city is requesting that, again, additional stormwatering area within the site. So that could be resolved through a PUD agreement if these were to move forward and be approved.
Okay.
And I just want to touch here on the future land use amendment. This is required if the rezone is approved, and then is just to update the future land use map in that kind of bluish color. Again, that's the highway district. Those are the properties that are guided for highway commercial. So, requested actions for the rezone is 1, open and close that public hearing. 2, provide a recommendation on resolution PC 2025-013, which is the finding of fact for the rezone. And then 3, a recommendation on resolution PC 2025-014, which establishes the rezone. These would be forwarded to the council. And then I also include those actions for the future land use amendment. And then after these 2, we would then request action on the PUD, which I can get into greater detail after. So,
Sounds good.
Questions?
Does this have any implications to the Beltway? Or we're good on that front?
The Beltway? No.
Yeah, okay.
Nope. There's still pieces that the St. Cloud Area Planning Organization has to kind of sift through as part of that Beltway planning. But no, because the Beltway as it is now is essentially 20th Avenue. Yep.
Sweet.
Yep.
Thank you.
Anything else? All right, if I don't have anything else, I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing for rezoning proposal.
I have a question.
Yep, if you can
If you could go to the
Yeah.
front.
step up and then say your name and where you live, and then,
Mary Filzen, 210 18th Avenue Southeast, St. Joe.
okay.
And my question is, how will building apartment buildings affect the my property value? Because we already have apartment buildings to, I don't know the directions, but there's two of them down there and one right in my backyard. And I'm like, yeah, I don't really want any more. I don't want to be surrounded by apartment buildings. Seriously do not want to be surrounded by them. And that's what it's going to be. It's going to build here and then he's going to build over there. Because there's two lots two farm acreage right now, and he's gonna sell that other side too, and we're gonna be surrounded by apartment buildings. I don't want that. And how will it affect my property value?
That I do not have the answer to.
Randy on that
Yeah,
one.
yeah. So I don't think any of us would be able to answer that question. That would come down to a assessor question and how they would determine those values and such. Yeah.
Okay. Yep, just again, come up, say your name, where you live.
Amy Benafgul. I live on the 18th Street Southeast as well. And one of the things when they did put those apartments in, and technically there are three that kind of surround us currently, they widened 20th, but only up to the stop sign. And there's a block between a stop sign on 20th and the light on 75. Currently, it is just two ways, no shoulders. The big trucks that are coming into Quick Trip to fuel, they can barely make that right turn from 75 without going across the line now. And you're talking of adding 38 to 42 more units. You're talking about adding potentially 42 to 84 more vehicles on that block that cannot currently handle the big trucks and the property owners or apartment rentals now, because that part of the street was never widened. I'm not exactly sure this new complex that is being proposed, where the entrance and exit will be. Will it be on Baker Street? Will it be on 20th? Will it be on Minnesota Street? Because currently with the Quick Trip, you have a lot of traffic coming in and out of that Quick Trip as well as the big trucks. And that's a lot of traffic to add to an area that already has three apartment complexes and then all of the property owners that are there. And that's why all of us are here tonight, is because we all live on 18th Avenue
Okay.
and
Yeah,
have
my
that
name's-
concern.
My name's Tom. I'm gonna just gonna piggyback on this part. of your-
Tom, where do you live?
At 213 18th Avenue Southeast. So, again, with that, if you're trying to make that turn on 75 with all that extra traffic, you can't turn east on 75 right now with people also going straight. So you're gonna end up with even more backed up traffic.
No shoulder, so if you
No
have a
shoulder.
stall, you can't get the stall off, you would have all your traffic backed up because there's no way to get around
So
it.
you're talking about the section of road from Minnesota Street up to 75, because that's the
Correct.
2-lane, and down in front of the apartment complex, it's 4-lane.
Yeah, and so you're also gonna add more walking traffic in there. There's not a designed area for people to be walking there. And again, that's where that guy was killed, right at that intersection right there.
So the trucks coming into Quick Trip, coming off of 75 and then having to immediately turn right into the Quick Trip, they don't come all the way down to Minnesota Street, and they don't use that exit or
No.
entrance on the south side.
The entrance is actually right there off 75 for the truck
75.
entrance. Yep.
Well, they have to turn at the light at 75, and then Quick Trip has an entrance there where the trucks
Right,
can come in,
right.
but it's making that right turn from 75
But then they-
onto 20th.
They have to come back out, come back around, And if they're going straight across over to Manion's, then you also, anyone else going back to the east to St. Cloud, which was where the majority of the traffic goes, they're sitting there waiting. And that just backs up further, so.
And there's really no way to widen that unless you move the traffic light. There's electrical, Stearns Electric has boxes there. The restaurant, Neighbor 75 is there. So it would take quite a lot to be able to widen that section of the road as well.
And that's just for driving traffic. That
Driving
doesn't
traffic,
count
yeah,
the people that walk through there.
yeah, because there's no sidewalks.
Yeah,
There's
there's no
walking-
sidewalks.
Well, just in front of the cars, but yeah.
Yeah. There's none on 18th Avenue Southeast either, and there's plenty of people that
That's
walk
true.
down that from those apartments already. And so then you're adding in more in front of that as well, so it just becomes an even busier intersection right by Quick Trip.
And there'd be adding, Nate, if I'm,
Yep.
if I'm correct, looking at this map, the entrance and exit to the apartment complex parking goes in on 20th and 18th both. So it goes all the way across, correct?
So part of the discussions that we've had with the applicant up to this point was, one, limiting the number of access points leaving the site. There's a lot of traffic analysis that goes into it to try to make that as kosher as possible. So that's why on this plan that I pull up here, so this is the plan showing the overall project and then the access points. So there's an access point coming out to 18th Avenue at that intersection right there. And then also an access point from the site going to the south to the other existing apartment complex, which would then funnel out to a already existing access onto 20th. I think in some of the initial concepts, there was another access point directly to 20th. We wanted to limit that though, and then given that the property owners also own that property to the south, having that connection to the south and then using an existing access point to get onto 20th was better from a traffic management and safety perspective.
So then that would go over the current walking paths?
Yep, so it'd cross over those current walking paths, so there'd be improvements made to that. And then also part of the overall concept plan too, and this is part of the PUD discussion that we would have as part of that agenda item, is feedback in regards to sidewalks on 18th Avenue leaving from the site going towards Quick Trip. Quick Trip, when Quick Trip was built, there was not sidewalks placed on the south side of that lot because of the future reconstruction of Minnesota Street. That street will turn from call it a rural street to a urban street. And that means that we would have curb and gutter and sidewalk trail when that street transitions to that urban standard. So that sidewalk was put in the developer's agreement to be installed once that section of Minnesota Street changes over to a urban section. And that would be the same kind of train of thought with this project, would be if there was a sidewalk on Minnesota Street, for that to be delayed until that street is reconstructed, so that sidewalk wouldn't have to be reconstructed as well. So those are just part of the kind of site elements. I hope that answers some of the access point questions and such.
It answers the access point, but then that creates another issue because they have the garages for that apartment complex backing up to the current field. And if they're going to join them, that's going to mean that all of the children that are currently, on the walking paths and the people walking their dogs and everything else are gonna have to be cutting through traffic, basically, because you're gonna have all of those, both apartment complexes back and forth between the two. And currently, that is also where the water, no, I guess it ends. Yeah, the drainage ditch, yeah. Because they currently have a drainage ditch that runs all the way up to where the walking paths are. Because they connected a walking path behind their garages to the walking path that the city has there.
And part of the commission's asked also for that agenda item 7D, that preliminary PUD conceptual plan that we see on this screen, is for feedback in regards to the placement of some of the site-specific things like garages and landscaping and parking and things of that nature as well. So,
But the other thing is it's the same builder as the one that currently built the other ones a year or two ago. And again, there is additional land out there owned by the same individual. And that would be the other concern, is if this one gets built, then there's gonna be another one. And that's gonna be even more of a density issue, because you've got 5 sets of apartments surrounding a residential area.
I don't want that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I don't think any of you would wanna live surrounded by a pair of
Okay,
apartments.
just, yeah. We're gonna have the people at the stand talk, that's fine, all right.
So-
Anything else, Amy or Tom?
I just wanna, and it's not for really a discussion thing, but I just wanna note that I'd like to find the reasoning why they're trying to bring in more of these apartment buildings in our area, when St. Joseph is not like making a high school. So you wanna bring in more multifamily units, but you're not accommodating things for them to do. There's already houses that burn and turn because you can only live here so long. Or if you wanna stay here, you bus your kids over to Apollo. And why would you not have that here? But yet you wanna bring in more apartment buildings. That's just a point that I'm making there on that. And then the other point that I'm making is that these, the public did vote against these last apartment buildings, and the commission just put them in anyway, so.
Okay. Thank you, Tom.
Kelly Biniak, 118 17th Avenue Southeast. Good points. My point is that I received this in the mail just last Thursday. And it's very important to me as a council member that the information gets out there. And I understood, thinking that all the information was getting to the right people. Now, these ladies and gentlemen received, and I'm taking it, they're on 18th Avenue, so they're 350 as it says right here. However, none of my neighbors received this except for me. And so I'm a little concerned about that, because I had to apologize to them because I didn't open up my mail until this weekend because I was working through. So I was in my garden and I had a couple of very upset neighbors going, what's going on? Should we show up tonight? What do we need to do? I'm telling you, gentlemen, I'm very confused in the sense of, I told them not to because you're only gonna have more upset people because they didn't receive this in the mail. So we really shouldn't even be having this hearing until the appropriate people get their information.
Nate, do you know how many
yeah,
people
so
get that? In the,
we send that out 10 days ahead of time. So we did send that off.
This was noted Thursday.
Yeah,
So when I opened it, I had to go into the house and go, are they sure? Are they, and I didn't mean to act like that, but I had to double check. And so here I go, oh goodness, and I'm feeling like a big,
Right.
So yeah, I totally understand the frustration and apologies for that,
Yeah.
but we did send that out in 10 days ahead of time. So we do have affidavits that have shown that we did send that out 10 days ahead of time. Now, sometimes the mail does arrive, after that, and there is delay for that. But we did send that off in the required notice amount of 10 days ahead of time and to all folks that are within 350 feet. So we do have
that's what it is,
affidavits that,
350 feet.
yep, we do have affidavits that
and
do
these are my
display
neighbors,
that.
So if I received it, they should be receiving it. They actually
Yep.
heard from somebody else that they were talking about, and they're like, what? They were in Quick Trip.
So Councilor Biniak, if you want to see the list of addresses that are within
Yes,
those
I would like
350
to see
feet,
that,
I
yeah.
can definitely share that with you.
Yeah.
Because what we do is we highlight all 3 of these subject properties, and then we do a 350-foot radius around that, and then we grab all that parcel information from the county record. So whatever the county has within their records for property addresses and listed owners, then we send off those notifications, and we include the time and the place of that hearing. And on the flip side, we
Yeah.
include the
Like I have
depiction
right
of,
here.
yep,
And that's the thing is, these have been neighbors of mine for almost 30, these aren't just moved in people. So I'm trying to be as level-headed as I possibly can, because this was my mistake in not checking my mail, because I'm having a busy life, right? And I understand that this is gonna come in front of the council too. However, when they're not getting the information, that's when I tend to be a little bit upset. We've had this situation before, and I wanna make sure we're clearing this up as much as we possibly can. Please, okay. And so that's probably my most important, is making sure that the people, and I do believe my neighbors, because they wanted to make sure. Jeremy has lived in that house and has been brought up in that house next to me for a very long time. The neighbors across from me also did not receive it. And again, what that 350 is, I have to question that also, in the sense that they're just right across the street. So I would like to address that and make sure that that gets appropriated, and I would like to see the list if that would be okay. Now,
Yeah.
tonight, what?
I was gonna say, yeah, definitely we can share that list with you.
I appreciate that. Now, as I'm sitting here and I was reading through, and again, I just feel like I didn't do my due diligence of homework, is that I didn't realize that it was already set forth as an apartment building. I mean, I realized there was conversation around being able to switch that and change that, but I look at St. Joe as a council member, and if you drive around St. Joe, we have a mixed and mixture. You know, we have the, patio homes, we have the, when we're going down, that there's the condos. You know, I like the mix and mixture of it, and as it had been shared tonight, and this is, we're building apartment buildings right around our unit. And I moved into this space where I was literally in a dead lot. There was no drive-through, so those roads actually came through, and all these lovely people weren't even there when I bought that, and I wasn't even city at the time. So yes, it has grown, and I accept it, and I receive it. But I'd like to mix and mingle that. I would love to see condos down there. I would love to see family lodging down there. I didn't realize that it was already established that this was going to be apartment buildings. And so that was another thing that I'm, realizing tonight, that I didn't know. And so obviously I have to do a better homework in this and watching this coming down the pike. And so I apologize, but my first concern would be making sure that everybody got the mailing, because like I said, I did tell my two neighbors next to me not to come tonight, because I just thought I didn't know how they were going to be received. And maybe that was wrong, but I thought I would come and share our concerns. Thank you.
And Counselor, if I can just add to that, we did receive 2 notices that got sent back to us, but those were for the interim use permit notices that we had sent out.
Okay.
All the other public hearing, we did not receive back. So as far as we know, they were received within that radius of 350 feet. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Thanks, Nate. Thanks, Kelly.
And my question is, which you know me already.
Mary, yes.
So, where does the 350 feet come from?
Yeah. Yep.
That
So
seems like a very small amount of area.
yeah. So and agree
And
that
there's and it includes, our whole neighborhood is gonna be affected by this.
Yep. So, and agree, and I understand your frustration in regards to that. So that 350-foot radius is set by a couple of factors. One, it's set by state statutory requirements. So statutory requirements require a specific distance for mailing notices based on the land use application. And then the second factor is ordinances. So the city council could amend the ordinance to require a greater distance for those mailings. But when we receive applications in, we go off what is our ordinance and what is the statutory requirement. So that 350 feet that we've been referencing is,
How do I get a change to that? Who do I talk to in order to complain a lot and say, that needs to be?
Yep, and I totally understand your
Increased.
frustrations. The tough part about that is, if the council were to change it, this is a council decision, but if council changes it to 500 feet, there's gonna be someone that's at 502 that is left out of it.
So you're just saying this is the number they chose, and that's just.
It's just what,
arbitrary.
yeah, so it's what the state statutory requirements are for minimum distance for mailings, and it's what's in our ordinance. So like staff, we go off of what's in the rules, and then we send off accordance to
I
that.
do understand
Yep.
that, but it really is going to affect our entire neighborhood because we will be surrounded on all sides because there's nothing, there's a trees back there. So I mean, we're pretty much, we're gonna be surrounded. I don't want that.
Understood.
That made
Okay,
sense.
thank you, Mary.
Yep.
Yep. Just say your name and address.
I am Victoria Umersky. I live at 204 18th Avenue Southeast. So going back to the map that had been up, you guys are wanting to put a road up against like where that current walkway is? Or
do you
take
mean?
place of that? Is that what?
You mean the one that connects the two parking lots? Yeah,
Yes.
the one that goes over the walkway.
Yeah, so that's part of their conceptual plans is to include that connection, and mostly so the purpose behind that was so that the site had a second access in and out of the site. So instead of directly connecting to 20th on the west, having them come down to the south and use the existing access was what was designed. Yeah.
Okay, so will there be like any walkway back there or will it only be road? Because I'm home most weekends and in the evenings and they are constantly used except for if it's raining.
Yeah, so are you asking if would there be like a sidewalk connection from like the side of the garage and parking lot to that trail?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's that's part of the discussion. That's part of the conceptual plans and part of the PUD proposal is sidewalk connections in and out the site, and then sidewalk connections around the site. So the commission could ask or recommend that a connection be made from that parking lot to directly those pathways.
Okay.
Yep.
Will that pathway stay in at all like alongside my house or will that be straight road?
No, nope. So this graphic kind of shows, but that pathway is in that called the concrete color, that
Okay.
white. Yep.
Where it kind of curves?
Yep. So
Okay.
that's all that
Thank you.
existing. Yeah. So that would all stay.
Okay.
And I think part of the applicant, and the applicant is in attendance this evening too, but part of also the reasoning behind also some of the placement of those garages, specifically the garages to the west of that access point going to the south, is to aid in a buffer for the single family on that side and to the southwest there. So,
But
yeah.
what about like vandalism being behind, and in that area? Cause I mean, there are quite a few teenagers and kids, granted I'm not much
So-
older than
Yeah.
them.
So
but-
right now, most of this is just the conceptual use right
Right,
now.
okay.
So it doesn't mean what you see is what you're gonna get.
Right. But that would be another worry.
Mm-hmm.
Cause I think I have seen some vandalism on the garages that are with the current apartment buildings. I haven't seen any being done, but I believe I've seen it in passing. So, and like, that's right outside my window and I can see that, so.
Yep.
Okay, all right, thank you. I
Thank-
appreciate you
thank you.
orientating me.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Sorry.
Nope,
Yeah.
you're good. Kelly,
One
yep,
more
go ahead.
question. Well, now that we're bringing that up, and I'm glad you're gonna come up and approach that, but if this does pass, and if this is, I would really, really strongly suggest on having them enter in from the road between Neighbor and Quick Trip, that, what is that road now?
Were we talking about 20th?
It says 20th, yeah,
Yeah.
because right now, I run, and to run from my house to get onto that path is already a little trepidatious. But now, if I'm running, I'm gonna cross over, get on that path, and then cross over 2 more times in worrying about cars. And so I would rather have, if this were to pass, to have that on 20th and not on 18th coming. Because already cars aren't stopping at that stop sign, I'm just telling you. You know, they don't. And I'm there all the time. And I don't know how many times I've had to say, stop! Because people aren't watching the cars and they're supposed to be stopping at that stop sign. And they get to drive all the way through while the stop sign, they stop. They don't stop. And I'm just saying that's early in the morning when I'm running. That's my concern,
because we're already having a situation with that corner.
Okay.
So I would rather have cars and not have another crossing over that crossing path, that's all I'm saying.
Okay, thank you, Kelly.
So I'll just add to that. Again, some of the reasoning behind why you see that access point coming to the south is traffic management. So specifically, like when our engineer was reviewing the project in terms of like intersection spacing and that, the less access points that we can have directly onto 20th Avenue, which is a arterial street, an arterial road, the better in their traffic management lens. And we do have that existing trail that comes up here that could create a conflict there. I know it creates a conflict to the south as well. So either way, it's going to create that conflict. So how do we lessen that? But I can't speak exactly for Randy, but who was our city engineer, Randy Sabart. But that's part of the comments that he had provided from his team to lessen the access points onto 20th and then go to the south. So,
State your name.
You ready? Steve Keepers Construction, 17018 Commercial Park Road, Brainerd, Minnesota. Hear you guys' concerns, comments. We approached staff a couple of years ago about the initial idea of doing a third building. So we did those two buildings, the Oaks on 20th, before the 20th actually got rebuilt. That was the site of the former Delwyn. A previous owner had actually gotten it rezoned multifamily, and they had proposed a PUD project that ultimately was determined for a variety of reasons. He didn't move forward on it. We bought it, put the two apartment buildings on it, aligned them perpendicular to 20th, aligned them perpendicular to the houses in the back. We did tie into the trail at the request of the city at the time. Project's actually it opened up during COVID, which was a challenge. Project's basically been full ever since. It's a marker rate project. We never asked anything from the city. It's been 95+% occupied. It's actually been a really nice project. Why does people want to live in St. Joe in a multifamily project? Same reason why they want to live in a house. St. Joe's a nice community. We've enjoyed being a part of it. The third building idea came along. The current owners, they dropped the price on it here a while ago. They're not getting any interest in it as a commercial site. Right now, that's 3 commercial lots. So you guys already saw the uses on it. It's a down zone to go from the commercial to the multifamily, so we were attracted to it because we actually felt it was a less intensive use than, say, if a hotel went on it or a implement dealership or whatever all the different allowed uses are. We approached city staff, city engineer, loved it because instead of 3 access points, we were literally getting down to 1 access point onto public roads. The topography of that site lends itself in such a way where there's a need for a regional retention pond, and that's why that's down on the corner of down toward 20th going to the east. Thus, then it put the access point out on the 18th. We really wanted a second one just from a safety standpoint, so we were tying it to the rear parking lot of the existing project. Yes, it does go across that trail. Ironically enough, I remember when we put that trail in, nobody was ever going to use it. Now everybody tells me that they use it, which is fine. We'll put a crosswalk on it, so there's going to be some control. We added a pickleball court to the project. We originally wanted to add a swimming pool. It just didn't work for size. And then you did hear that the request for the PD is largely driven by the regional retention pond. As far as the traffic goes and the concerns of the neighborhood, we're really relying on the city engineer. And when you guys rebuilt 20th and you laid that project out the way it was, we're working with the parameters that are there and the infrastructure that's there. Really don't have anything else to add to it. Ultimately, it's your guys' decision. I mean, right now it is zoned commercial and it is 3 lots. We're taking it down to 1 lot. We're dedicating that pond to the city for the future use, and we're going to basically the multifamily use. Any questions for me that you guys have?
Nope, not during the public hearing right now.
All right,
Thank you.
thanks.
and we do have someone on Zoom as
Okay.
well, Chair.
All right. Very faintly, can you state your name?
Yep, Tyler Johnson. I live on 220th 17th Avenue Southeast.
All right, Tyler, go ahead.
Yeah, actually, my comment changed a little bit. Did I hear that there was a pickleball court as a part of this
Yes, you did.
proposal?
Yes, you
Okay,
did.
so I actually have a coworker who's going through a very similar battle in a different city with a pickleball court and some of the concerns that causes with things like noise. I just wanted to originally rise to say I support everybody else and actually offer a little feedback on this survey from somebody doing the Zoom, or not survey, excuse me, the notice that was sent out. If it would be possible to put like better Zoom directions, I looked for about 15 minutes, thank God my wife is smarter than I, and found the link because I was really struggling. I don't know why that's not included so that people who can't make these meetings can find it a bit easier because I was very close to giving up. But yeah, those are just my thoughts. I'll keep it short.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tyler. Anybody else? All right, if no one else would like to come up, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing. So then we are on to the motion for resolution PC 2025-13, unless there's more discussion. If there's no discussion, we're looking for a motion and a second.
I'm trying to figure out.
So we're right here on page, I don't even know what page it is. My pages are off. What page do you got?
I'd have to look, it should
Mine's-
be,
This is B.
Yeah, we're right here.
it should be right here, 83.
So we're just following the requested actions up there. So we're
Oh, right
under
here.
the rezone number 2, a recommendation on the resolution, which is the finding of fact. And then that second resolution is establishing the rezone.
Yep. So this first one is just, again, the finding of fact. So,
And I'm just gonna ask a real quick question to Kelly's point. Since there are a lot of people that maybe weren't aware of the public hearing, didn't get the message in time, would it be appropriate to resend that out and table this until next month?
So we sent off all the notices with the required,
yep, they've sent the required
Distance
and nothing came back
and
except 2 from
correct.
the PUD.
yeah,
right?
so we did everything that we are legally
So
bound
we
to
are-
do.
We've done everything that we need.
Yeah.
Correct.
I mean, you know, and
Correct.
to Mary's point, it's something to look at. If you want to expand that to get more people, then you'd have to look into the ordinances
And change the
itself.
ordinance.
Yep,
Okay,
which could be something that we could do.
then I'll
So-
go ahead and make the motion.
All right, we have a motion just for the finding of fact of resolution PC 2025-13. Do I have a second? I will second.
Just to be clear, this is just changing it from
Yep, this is-
R3 to R1.
Yep, this is just a
R3, or B2
B2
to R3.
to R3, so residential 3. So I've got a motion and a second. Any more discussion?
Yeah, fundamentally, I'm opposed to spot rezoning.
Mhm.
Yes, it just bothers me. We've already got a zoning map in place. We know what we want to do. And I understand the need for additional housing. You know, and this actually could be a pretty good use of land, because you don't know what could happen in a commercial side. It could
Well,
be
right.
any number of things that might be more detrimental to the neighborhood than an apartment complex.
Could be a hotel, could be
Could be a number of
a
things.
car dealership, but, yeah.
It is, you are asking for spot rezoning,
Yeah.
and that's always been something that's a concern to me.
You know, it's spot rezoning for 3 parcels that butt up to rural residential. Is that correct? Am I right there?
No,
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 so
that's-
just a point of clarification. So, spot zoning is typically where, like, you have zoning where the surrounding area is different than what the proposed rezone is.
So it would come
This
into it.
rezone wouldn't classify as spot zoning. It does
just tie in.
butt up against R3 to the south.
Yeah.
You recall the existing apartment complex to the south.
Okay.
And then the roadway, Minnesota Street, and then 18th Avenue on the west would then be, if this were to be approved, would be the boundary of the residential to the commercial areas.
So this right here.
Yep, so I know this is a little bit hard to see, but
this
some of
would
this was
stay.
in the packet.
So this would turn to this
Yep.
right here. And then
Yep.
this all would stay right there as the commercial, so. All right, any other discussion? I have a motion and a second. All of those in favor for the finding of fact, say aye. Aye. And opposed? All right, that passes 3-1. All right, then the next one, Nate, would be the motion of the resolution, if you want to go back to the other one.
Yeah, give me a second. Sorry, a lot of slides here.
There you go. All right, so this is the recommendation of the resolution PC 2025-14. This is establishing the rezone.
Yep.
Correct?
Yep.
Okay, so do I have a motion for the recommendation of establishing the rezone? I'll make a motion for PC 2025-14, establishing the rezone. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a second. Any discussion?
What's this one saying now?
So this is just establishing the rezone itself.
So it,
So,
What was the last one?
so the last one was finding of fact, changing it from business to R3.
Yep.
Yep, and then this is just establishing the rezone now.
Oh,
yep.
just
So it's
solidifying it.
Yep,
so it's essentially it's similar because so the finding of fact is finding the conditions to approve the rezone itself, and then the establishment of the zoning is essentially the same thing, but officially changing the zoning
zone itself of
designation
those
and
three.
publication of that zoning change.
yep.
So
Any other questions on that?
so it updates our zoning map.
Yep.
So the first one finds the findings to
That we can
change the
update it.
rezone, and then the second one establishes that with the zoning map itself. Yep.
All right, so I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor of establishing the rezone PC 2025-14, say aye. Aye. Anybody opposed?
Nay.
That one passes 3-1. All right, Nate, now we're on to number 3. This is the
Yep.
PUD.
So this
Okay.
is the PUD concept plan. So again, the PUD is sought because of the density and then the public stormwater ponding along the corridor. So again, in some of these discussions, when the applicant had approached the city about the rezone, there is a need for stormwater ponding along Minnesota Street. We'll go back to the example of Minnesota Street being a rural section right now, and eventually that rural section is going to change into a urban section with curb and gutter. And when that transitions, there's a need for stormwater ponding along this corridor.
What
So-
triggers that change from the rural to the?
So that would be a change that would be part of enhancing that street to meet city standards. So right now, it's old like rural standards, township and that with ditches. So when it changes to an urban standard, now you have the stormwater collection system, you have the stormwater pipes that get put in, and then you have trails and sidewalks and things of that nature.
I think
So-
more to Keith, maybe what he's asking, or more what I'm curious about is when's that sand, the line in the sand come up? Is that just when Randy says it's time for a new bituminous overlay or something?
Yep,
And that's when we do
so
it?
it would be part of our capital improvement plan for the city. Right now, there is no timeline for this section of road to transition. So it'd be up to the council direction to decide when that transition occurs. However, prior to that, and part of this project provided a opportunity to capture the ponding needs. Right now, the city does not have any other land along this corridor to capture those needs. So the city would have to negotiate with individual property owners for acquisition of land or easements to accommodate the capacity of ponding that's needed, which would be pretty significant for the road reconstruction. So, and these subject properties right now, again, are 3 individual properties. So those would have been developed individually with their own stormwater system and collection system on site. Right now, how the applicants have designed it is they've designed it to accommodate 5.5 times the ponding than what they would have normally needed. So we had showed this earlier. This is the conceptual plan for how the applicants are proposing to develop the site. You can kind of see to the right of the pickleball court, that lighter green area. The lights are kind of hard to see that corner. I apologize for that. But that's part of the stormwater ponding area. So essentially, if you think of this as 3 lots, that easternmost lot is essentially ponding area. So it takes up a pretty good size of the site. Again, 42 apartment units, internal circulation and connection to the property to the south minimizes those driveway connections to public roads. And there's transition that is provided with separation of roadways and the uses, and compatibility with the development to the south in terms of the multifamily that's proposed. Part of the PUD requirements are providing public benefit. So some of the public benefit is that stormwater ponding and then additional housing. PUD requirements. PUDs shall demonstrate a public benefit that addresses housing needs at varied income levels, offers diverse housing types and designs, preserves open space, provides recreational opportunities, and supports mixed-use development. So a couple of those, the project staff views, they do hit on. And again, part of this was the city asking for that stormwater pond. If this project were to proceed forward, staff would want that ponding incorporated to accommodate that growth of Minnesota Street. Also within the PUD requirements, some findings that are required are that the proposed plan is not detrimental to surrounding land uses, is compatible with future development, has adequate streets and sidewalks, provides required utilities, required parking, aligns with our comprehensive plan, and then conforms with subdivision standards. Again, we talk about stormwater ponding here, and Planning Commission shall provide input on the overall concept plan, the compatibility, the public benefit, and the zoning elements that we had talked about. So some site specifics that we want to get direction from the commission on are sidewalk connections within the site. Some of that was brought up earlier as part of the rezone public hearing, but we would like to see at minimum there's a sidewalk on the south side of the apartment complex that connects to the trail out on 20th Avenue. We'd like to see that sidewalk also extend out to 18th and that intersection near their access point. We've talked a little bit about future sidewalk along Minnesota Street, so the northern part of the site. Again, when that Minnesota Street develops from a rural to a urban roadway, we feel that capturing that future sidewalk as part of a future improvement within the site is appropriate. Quick Trip, again, across the way to the north, they don't have a sidewalk, but they're required to put one in once that roadway transitions to an urban standard. We talked a little bit about providing a connection along 18th Avenue. We recognize that there's a lot of bikers and pedestrians that not only would be created as part of this project, but also that exist in the surrounding area. So providing that connection along 18th Avenue to get up to Minnesota Street, and then that future sidewalk on Minnesota to get out to 20th Avenue would be appropriate. But we're looking for feedback from the commission on that. And then also we talked about that connection to the south and some of the reasoning on why it's reflected in these plans, but getting some input from the commission on that as well. Requested actions, again, we're doing a public hearing with this, and then there's different options for the commission, including approving with conditions, tabling with specific comments, and denial. So those are the actions that's being requested. And any questions for staff prior to opening up the public hearing?
Nope. So with that, we'll go ahead and open the public hearing for Kepler's PUD lots 1 through 3, block 2, and Kano Properties. Kelly?
Kelly, 118 17th Avenue Southeast, and of course I'm coming as a resident. Looking at those, I'm sorry, you put more than enough ponds in that area. Why would we need to put another pond? I really need to talk to Randy about that. There's just we got a large pond between, which is kind of nice, between the resident and the apartments. But then there's a whole nother, there's like 2 other ones. And that's one thing I don't understand, if that's an ordinance or, like you said, from the city. That's something that we need to look at, because there's quite a few. When I run back through there, you know, if this does come to fruition, I don't see why they would need to build another pond.
Nate, do you have a comment?
Yeah, so Kelly, that comes down to the standards by the MPCA.
I get that, but we need to approach that then, because there's really, I mean, there's enough ponds.
We don't have control over that. So when we go,
We as a city don't?
no. So when we go and reconstruct a roadway and we create additional impervious surfaces and we have ponding that
But we never
is
used to have
required.
that. This has been recent, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Well, the permits,
last 15,
the requirements
20
have changed, and MPCA does change their standards, and they've
Yikes.
changed it a lot. But we need a place for that stormwater to go. And that
I know
stormwater,
but if
yep.
you look within that zone, within those 3 apartments, they've got more than enough ponding to hold a hurricane, really. I mean, they're not being filled with the downpours that we're having right now. They're not getting filled between the 3 of them that we have. So to put another one, if they are to build, I'm just saying there would be more parking space for them. You know, not like I'm saying that I'm approving this, but now we're looking at, and I don't know, this is between trying to decide with this, but I'm just saying there's enough ponding there. But like you're saying, if we don't have a say in that, then I guess I can understand that. I think my biggest thing is being able to, I hope, hearing the voices of us that are living in the area. And I have no problems talking that if it does happen, to be able to reconstruct that so we're all safe, the children and the people who are running, and being able to maybe have trees, you know, instead of the ravine. I don't think we need the ravine. Like I said, we have more than enough ponds. I would love to see trees then.
Nate, what are all those circle things around the area? That's the sidewalks right here.
So
No, underneath.
So the
So I
situation,
circled in red the areas
sidewalks.
where you could have those additional sidewalk connections.
Yep, underneath those. Are those all trees?
Those are trees,
that
correct.
would be fabulous.
Yep.
I would love
Yep.
to see trees than
So
ponds.
there's trees around the entire site in
So it does
accordance
look
to
like
our
it's
landscape
blocking to it.
requirements.
And the only thing that I
And then
would
there's-
request is the road,
Yep.
them
To
entering
20th.
into 20 instead of 18. Just because that is already congested the way it is, and to be able to have
Say that again, Kelly, which road?
on
Connecting.
20th, have the driveway into 20th, do not have that,
So here.
that
Into
second
18th.
entry
Here instead of
over
here.
the pathway. And then, because
Because
right
20th
there,
comes
I mean,
straight
they're
in.
literally not even, I don't know how many feet, it's to the corner of 18 where that stop sign is, where nobody's stopping, like I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
The less entries to things there would be so much better. I would then put trees like if it's the way it looks right there, I don't have a problem with that. I have a problem with too much going on. There's too many kids walking there. I'd rather have that driveway entry. Get rid of the dang pond, give them more parking spot on that side. That's my position in that, so that we're safer on the other side. Move the building down towards the 20th and, you know, have that parking in the trees there and less entry into, so that we can be safer as a community neighborhood there, if that makes sense, hopefully. Thank you.
Thanks, Kelly. Anybody else? Anybody online? Nope. Okay, thank you. If there's no one else that would like to do that, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing for the PUD.
In that purple bit, if you could back it up one, Nate,
Yeah.
can we put a stipulation where if we talk to Randy and figure out what the needs are, if it does have to hook up to 18 there, can we put a stipulation that there needs to be speed bumps there for that trail?
To go across it
and then
instead?
I don't foresee that being a heavy traffic area, but I just also see that there could be a conflict of interest there.
Yeah, so speed bumps on the south access point across the trail, leaving the site, right?
Or
Is that-
just where the path is crossing on that.
Yeah,
purple.
yep, definitely. Yeah, and again, just to clarify, the ponding and those things really are and had been pushed from staff in regards to that overall capacity, knowing that we need ponding along that corridor. And this presented an opportunity to acquire it in one swoop, which is much less costly and much less demanding than individual negotiations.
That's the low end of the site then, so that makes the most sense to put the pond on that end versus the other side?
That I would defer to the applicant in terms of that, yeah.
Yep. It goes down. Okay. We want to go to what we need to do next here.
Well, just more,
Yep, you can keep talking.
more discussion about the plan
Yeah,
itself.
yeah,
So
go for it.
I'm looking at, Victoria, this might be your property. Are you on the corner right behind where the
204.
Yeah.
Where those four circles are?
Yep, those are the existing trees that are there. You've got a lot of nice big trees right to the north of your property.
So those would stay.
And those, I'm assuming, that's why I want to ask the applicant if those are gonna stay or if they're coming down and being replanted.
You talking.
These guys right here.
Oops, sorry, Mark.
Let me flip.
Yeah, that seems better.
Sorry.
As we're jumping around, you're good. I'm wearing steel toe.
I'm gonna flip to a better map
Yeah.
that can provide a better visual.
That would be great, Nate.
Just give me a second here. Sorry, I have like 3-4 maps pulled up, so.
I just happen to be wearing golf shoes.
I got steel toe. Good.
All right. 204?
Yep.
Okay. So I'm assuming we're talking about these ones
Yes,
over here.
all of these right here.
Yeah, right up to your left, keep going up to your, there you go, right in there, right all through there. Those are all nice big trees back in there. And I wanted to check and make sure they're gonna stay or if they're coming down and being replanted.
Yeah, it'd be nice to have
That'd
those
be nice to
stay.
keep 'em.
Okay, give me 1 second. I'm refreshing property boundaries. Sorry.
It's a crazy map.
All right. And I'm just pulling this up just to try and see, because I'm not 100% if all those trees or some of those trees are within what area, but so they'd probably be,
They're
In
right,
the property we're talking
yeah, in
Right
the
there.
property.
They're
yeah,
within the
yeah.
property that they want to build.
Yep. Okay.
By the time they get done doing the drainage on that, I won't promise you that they're gonna stay. It's gonna be a combination of new trees and the garages.
Okay.
There's a deer fish that runs along in there. And
Well, it's a mosquito factory. See, I call the pool in my backyard
Can
a
you-
mosquito factory. I can't stand it.
Whoever wants to speak, can you come up to the mic here? They want to.
Well,
Just for
actually,
the online folk.
Yeah.
actually, right now the public hearing is closed.
Well, she
So,
wants some, she can't hear them.
yep, I know, but so yeah, we just gotta kind of control where we're at. So, it's us to discuss kind of where we want and where we're at. So, with more than likely, they might have to come down, but they would replant.
Yeah,
And it
that
looks
would-
like they would replant down over
yeah,
here
and-
too.
And that's kind of what I would like to see would be a lot of vegetation, trees to block the view of the backside of those garages,
Yep,
all the way along, the path.
Back
so that
here.
You've got a nice vegetative, if that's a word,
blocking, yeah,
block.
okay.
And again, down the path that they've already there going
Yep.
down to the, yep.
Looks like they've already got
Yeah.
that slated for everything around it.
Andy, I like your idea of the speed bumps.
Yep,
Go across, unless we can access 20th Street and eliminate that crossing across, eliminate that, access to that other parking lot.
which you could add that into the PUD
I-
to approve
I
it
would-
to say,
I would
to
prefer,
Kelly's point, where she wants it off of 20th and not 18th, so you completely cut it off there.
and if it gets too busy, we can always put a roundabout in there, right?
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak for Randy and the traffic folks. I can only relay that this is part of why you see what you see
Yep.
on here. But that's something that we can follow up with for sure, yeah.
I would be interested to know what the traffic flow would be like if the access goes onto 20th Street instead of 18th, because 18th being a residential road, and there will be a fair amount of traffic coming in and out, especially in the morning and the afternoon.
And I don't disagree with all the residents there and the traffic that's there. There's a lot that goes there.
Yeah,
A lot.
there is a lot.
So to cut off the access point to Kelly's point, to bring it on to 20th makes more sense to me than there. Because now you're limiting that 18th to the residents that are in there, and you're limiting the 20th to the residents that are there, so you're kind of
Because
separating
all
it.
the other buildings go out to 20th.
Mhm.
So,
And I know you said it, the public hearing, but you haven't really addressed either the fact that the section between 20th and between Minnesota Street and 75
Mhm.
is still just 2 lanes.
Yep, it is.
Yep.
So for those listening, yep, it is still 2 lanes going past and in between Neighbors and Quick Trip. Unfortunately, that's not on the plan here tonight. It would have to be another thing that the city would need to look at in their comprehensive plan if they need to traffic flow. So that's something you could bring to the council or something to us later on.
and Nate,
Yeah, I mean, the county is gonna control the
Yep, the
access
county.
point onto there. We don't have control over that, but past that, like 20th itself,
Yep.
we have the jurisdiction.
would the sidewalks that would be going around the entire property and connect into, future sidewalk going down 18th potentially, and sidewalks on Minnesota and all that, those wouldn't go in now, but they would be slated to go in at the time of improvements, or can they go in now?
So it's up to the commission on our recommendation. From a staff perspective, we felt that the timing for Minnesota Street would be delayed until that roadway is improved. That would follow the same recommendation and requirement for Quick Trip and what they had on their site. So it'd be consistent with the surrounding properties and how we handled that. The timing of 18th, I think, could deserve some more discussion on when that is appropriate to occur. I'd like feedback from the commission on that. And
say
at
you do it right
minimum,
Yeah.
what's that?
I'd say you do it right away on 18th.
What, I'm sorry.
I'd say do it right away on 18th.
Okay.
Well, there is no sidewalk
But there-
from.
Right here.
there's no
Sidewalk
sidewalk
going
in
south
front of-
there?
On 18th Street, is there?
Nope,
Right, there's no sidewalk going
So,
down 18th.
right there, right
Just that
away.
one section.
Yep. And then you increase Minnesota and where Quick Trip is when they have to update Minnesota Street. But I would say right away you do that, so,
And along 20th Street.
yep,
And we also,
yeah, right here. So you see how it could go right here? And then you connect it right there.
Next to the trail.
Yep,
Yeah,
yep,
connects to the trail.
yep, all that left side, so the big left circle and where you're gonna go, but,
yep. So one thing we called out too was, the direct connection from the internal sidewalk going to the west to the 18th intersection. And then what I'm hearing now is also to have that sidewalk connection travel along 18th to Minnesota Street at the
Yep.
time of development and
Construction, yep.
such. Okay.
and then obviously, well, again, if you wanna make the entrance on 20th, then I would say you connect that sidewalk. If you cut off the entrance of 18th, you connect it all the way.
Right all the way down. Yep.
Does that make sense, Nate?
I'm sorry.
So you connect the
Multitasking.
sidewalk where
Yep.
18th is, and if we decide to move forward with the PUD with the amendment of closing off the access to 18th and switching it to 20th, now you have the sidewalk where the entrances continue it all the way to the walking path. Am I making sense?
Just have it continue from Minnesota down to the walking path. is what
Yep.
I'm saying.
Yeah.
The sidewalk on the.
So have the sidewalk on Minnesota Street?
No.
No,
West
they
side
go
of
from
the-
Minnesota
west
Street
side of
down
the property.
18th all the way down to the walking path.
decide to cut this off.
Yep. Got it. Okay.
Lighting, somebody had mentioned something about vandalism and different things like that might be going on. That's probably pretty dark back there. If you take a look at the parking lot, the buildings, the other 2 apartment buildings, this new apartment building, and you got a parking lot, and then you've got those garages, there's nothing back there. It's probably gonna be pretty dark at night, especially if if I request vegetation to go in.
Yeah,
What about lighting to give it, and I don't know if it would blind people at night, or if lighting would be appropriate to give it a little more security type lights. Some, landscaping lighting just to give it more
Visibility.
visibility, thank you. That's something else that I.
Yeah, so I mean, placement of lights, the commission could recommend certain areas for that. Keep in mind that any lighting within the site is gonna have to meet our lighting standards anyhow,
Sure.
which is full cutoff style lights, and then there is a maximum on the amount of lumens that can reach other adjacent properties. You might have a conflict with that if they're placed on the south side of the garage, and then there's the residential to the south. You don't wanna make those too bright, because then we wouldn't allow those. Just want to point that out. But
Yeah, I still think he'd be a good, especially with more people. But. Cool.
Just
Any-
a thought.
Yep.
I like the idea of going with 20 if we can make it happen. I think that's, then you're keeping all the traffic on that, the east side of
Yep.
the site. I think that's preferable for sure. I get where the basin's at. It makes sense. Low part of the site, that makes sense to me. I like the size of it, it's helping the city out, so. Feel like
So
we're-
Nate, do you want to?
so I want to just
Yeah.
recap what I've heard so far, and I want to make sure that this is consensus.
Yeah,
for the
because then I'll take a
recommendation.
crack at the motion with stipulations in it.
Yep. So I have add trees on the south side of call it the westernmost garage.
Mm-hmm.
I have add speed bumps by that connection. If that connection does stay.
Right, there we go.
Yep.
'Cause I don't know if we need that connection
Yep.
for connection.
Explore more the connection to 20th Avenue. And
Close
if-
off 18.
And close off that.
Yep. And add a sidewalk onto 18th at the time of construction, and include that sidewalk connection also obviously connect to the internal path, but then also be extended to that, call it the southern westmost corner of the site.
Yeah.
I think that's.
I think you got it all.
And the sidewalk on
Okay.
20th Street.
Yeah, the sidewalk right here. Is that the sidewalk on 20th Street too?
The existing one?
Yeah, it's already there.
It's already there all the way?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're good.
And then, just to clarify, the timing of the sidewalk on Minnesota Street delay until that roadway is improved to urban? Okay.
One other question here. How many people or residents are in the other apartment buildings there? Are they same size, smaller, bigger? Or units? How many units are in the Oaks? How many units are in the current ones that are there now?
36 units in each building.
36 in each.
36 units in each building, just for those listening. So about the same that would be here.
This will be a
So,
little bit bigger.
A little bit bigger.
well, only one to two bedroom apartments is what it's stated.
Yep.
So
Correct.
one person to call it two people. Okay. Okay. So I'm gonna make a motion for, here we at, add that to, for the Keppers PUD for approval, of recommending the approval of preliminary PUD plan with the changes of adding the sidewalk on 18th, closing the exit on 18th, or the entrance and exit on 18th and moving it to 20th, and then also adding a speed bump and if necessary to the path, and along also adding trees on, is it the south side?
Southwest corner.
Southwest corner.
Southwest side of the parking garage.
Did I get it all?
Yes.
That is the motion.
Second.
I have a second. Any more discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, it passes 4-0. Thank you. On to old business.
All right.
Chickens.
Yeah. Talking about chickens. All right. Give me a second. Just page through.
Yeah, all right.
Gotta love chickens.
That was a brain baby. I'm gonna do it all again next Monday.
You gotta hear it again one day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry about getting rowdy there.
Huh?
The questions earlier and then
All right, Nate, what do we got?
Yep, I am getting there.
Oh, sorry.
So sorry. Okay. All right. So, per some discussion that we had at the last meeting, we talked a little bit about just what ordinance could entail for chickens in urban areas. We also went through some examples and included a plethora of different cities that had examples for chicken ordinances, and included that also in this packet as well. Also outlined some of our surrounding cities and their requirements. So where we're at now is looking at how could a ordinance look, and these are very rough, and these can be picked apart and thrown away, whatever the commission feels is necessary, but wanted to provide kind of 3 pathways for an ordinance. And those 3 pathways follow the first option being, call it the most restrictive option, and the second one being less restrictive, and then the third one being least restrictive. So starting with the first one, we put in here the first section, we talk about size of lot. We took the approach with this draft to have a minimum acreage size. So we just had minimum of 1 acre. We put in a maximum of the number of chickens or hens you can have on the site. And then also standards tied to the chicken coop, including the coop location, including setbacks, and we're a lot more detailed and strict in how we drafted this first option. The second option that we have in here, we also have a size restriction, but instead of an acre, we put half an acre, and also allowances for more chickens than that first option, and the coop itself lessening some of the standards like setbacks and such, so being a little bit more flexible or a little bit less strict on what those setbacks would be. And then the third, that last option that's least restrictive, we kind of took the approach that we did with like honeybees, where we broke it up into different size lots and then put a max number on the chickens based on those, but did not have a minimum size lot that folks needed to have in order to have chickens. We also were less restrictive on the coop itself and the location. In this one, we're speaking to 15 feet off adjacent property lines, where in the other more restrictive ones, we were referencing 30-foot setbacks or setbacks to adjacent dwellings. And then also less restrictive on some of the other requirements, like eggs being sold from the property itself. The other 2 options would prohibit that. This one would allow it to a certain extent. So, doors kind of wide open, but these are kind of just 3 potential pathways that an ordinance could take and shape out to be. We can change a lot of the details and a lot of the pieces. What I'm really trying to get out of tonight's meeting is, do we want to go the more restrictive path, or do we want to go less restrictive path?
I want to go restrictive in the sense of number 2, kind of a cross between. That's me personally.
Yeah, I'm kind of between most restrictive and restrictive.
I would like to see the slaughtering also added to it. I don't want to see any slaughtering on site. So adding J to the most restrictive down to the restrictive option.
F4 under restrictive is slaughter of chickens on site.
Oh, is it? Okay, sweet, thank you. I didn't read all that, but I was like, I definitely don't want that, okay. I think that's kind of a happy medium.
I am of the thought process of less restrictive.
Okay.
Solely on the fact that I don't know what the percentage is. I'm just throwing a dart at the wall. Probably 90% of lots inside St. Joe is less than half an acre.
Yeah.
So if we're gonna open it up, I think we open it up.
So I personally still like the half acre, because no offense, I'm not getting chickens anytime soon. And from where I live, I really don't really want chickens by me. But I also am okay if some of those people want it. So to me personally, I mean, half an acre, that gives at least range for where the chickens can be. It doesn't reduce it to the 8 1-acre lots that we have, you know, and thinking about it, it's, you know, can you drop it down to 0.4? Sure. But that's why I kind of asked earlier is what is the average size of where it's at? You know what I mean? Where
It's so hard to answer that question because the city and the makeup of the city just can vary so much.
Yeah.
You know, we even have, you know, I'll give an example. One of the folks that has been speaking about the chickens to staff in terms of support of an ordinance change has a lot that's larger than what you would typically find in the surrounding lots around them. So it just varies so much. So, and I wouldn't say there's a science in the minimum size of a lot. It's just more or less kind of what other cities have enacted.
Right.
And there's some consistency on some of that.
Yep.
If that's the pathway that
Yep.
that we take.
And then again, you know, Andrew, that's, you know, you're good to have that. I'm good to just with, that's what I think. I mean, what do you two think? Like we can agree to disagree, absolutely.
Well, and my only thought there was I'm willing to wheel and deal on everything else.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking that if you've got a half-acre lot and you put a house on it, that doesn't give you a lot of extra room for anything else. And you know, I mean, if it's my lot and I want chickens on it, I'm okay to give up my lawn. I'm okay to give up my space. But how close am I to my neighbors? And do my neighbors want that? Then we've got to have the setbacks. If we're going to have an half-acre lot and you're going to allow a chicken coop with a chicken run, you know, a fenced-in chicken run, that's, again, I don't have a feel for a half-acre lot, so I don't know just how small it's gonna be, and when you put all that on with a house and setback from the road, and
It's gonna be like right by your house.
you're gonna have, that's gonna be pretty tight, I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
And I think that the neighbors, you know, might object.
Would it
Right.
make a difference if I'm on a half-acre lot with a 30-foot setback or an eighth-acre lot with a 30-foot setback?
No, as long as the setback is there, you know,
Yeah,
then.
setback's
that just
there.
means the
I
coop
think
is
we're in
gonna be
agreeance with
closer
that.
to your house.
Yep.
As long as it's not intruding, the smell, the noise,
Well, and,
does not intrude on the neighbor.
and what the less restrictive one has, you're just talking lot size for this first one A.
Correct.
Is that what you're saying?
Correct.
To move it to there, because again, if you have a half-acre lot or smaller, you can't have more than 4 chickens anyway,
Correct.
which I'm in agreement with.
Yep.
Like, you know, then if you bump it up, sure, right? Because now if you've got an acre, it's a little bit different. So I guess I'm in agreement with that. Keith,
Yeah, I guess
you chicken? You don't
no,
want to talk?
I just,
Just kidding.
are
Gotta
we
have fun.
defining chicken or are we going ducks or geese? I mean, there's part of this though too, is this just
Just
for strictly
don't
chickens?
balk at the chance
No,
to
but
talk.
I mean, I'm just, I guess my point.
Just
being,
for
are we
chickens.
talking
We're gonna
strictly chickens? Are we
clearly
defining
define,
chicken? Okay.
and again, this does not include roosters. It does not include
No.
crowing hens.
Okay, 'cause
Yeah,
that-
good.
that
It is
should be in here,
just
'cause I do know there are
female
growing hens as
chickens
well.
of, I forget the exact science terminology, but
Yeah.
we will clearly define it.
Okay.
We
that's-
don't want
which is
Rhode
like-
Island reds.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
That's it, you know?
Yeah,
But I
okay.
feel that should be probably defined.
Yes, absolutely.
As far as the, you know, what,
Agreed.
are we talking fowl or are we talking just chickens or, you know, that type of thing, so.
Gosh, please tell me
As far as lot
Andrew and
size,
Kelly make those jokes at your meeting, please. when this comes up. All right.
As far as
So,
lot size, I'm not
Yeah.
real far the way.
no, and like I said, I don't mind if you move that piece to the less restrictive to the minimum, but then
Correct.
keep the other ones.
And my thought, if we,
Yeah.
I think we're
Cool.
good.
How's that sound to you?
Okay, so less restrictive option, and then look at just some language, specifically
Yeah.
language on setbacks
So I
and things
think-
like that. So maybe come back with like a couple more options and
So
what
we
we're
like
kind
the
of.
restrictive
I like the
option,
Restrictive option.
but
for-
adding
More
the
flexibility.
less
in lot
restrictive
size.
for the number of chickens and lot size. So your
Oh.
A and less restrictive, bump that up into
The
A for
restrictive
restrictive. Does that make
Okay.
sense?
Yes, thank
Okay.
you. Okay.
Do we remove B then?
Yeah.
Or is it still?
Yep,
okay.
well, then you'd
Yeah,
move
you
it
would
because
move
then it
that.
has the number of chickens
You
per
got no
lot
chickens
size. So
based
you'd
on
you'd
lot
remove
size.
A and B and just put A in there, yep.
And then as far as the coop, the restrictive stuff,
Yep, then you have your setbacks and,
fully enclosed.
Yep.
The only other thing that I was thinking about was the chicken run. You've got a fenced area for the chicken run.
yep,
And I mentioned this the last time, I think that if here's your house, here's your coop, and here's your neighbor, I want the run to be
in front.
Towards your
in
house.
front.
Yeah,
I
not
want it
back.
facing.
Sure,
Yeah,
away
absolutely.
from the neighbor.
So that when you look out the window, you see it, not your neighbor.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yep, I like that.
And that run also needs to be 30 feet from
The
any part of
nearest-
that
yeah.
fence.
Yep,
Yep. Which I think they, well, they have adjacent home, they have 30 feet from, yeah.
yep.
Okay. Just writing notes here. Okay.
That give you enough to go off of?
What about eggs being sold from the site? What are your thoughts on that?
I'm okay without.
Yeah,
I am
I'd say
too without
no.
selling
I mean,
those.
and let's be
I agree
real,
with
they
no
might
selling
get
eggs.
some and
Yeah.
go somewhere and say, here you go.
They might have, you know, a sibling or a friend come
Right.
over. and
But I
sell
wouldn't
some-
sell
Correct,
from
but
the
It's
home.
not a
selling from-
business.
yeah.
It's not a
Okay.
business.
It's not a business.
Okay.
A home, even a home business.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, I think that's enough, direction
And the rest of
here.
our ordinances cover noise,
Oh.
smell, things like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we
Yep.
don't have to make any.
Nope.
extra-
And the good thing in here, you know, it shows where food storage, you know, watertight, all that stuff.
What about permit requirements? We have in here a one-time permit
Yeah.
being
Yep.
required. Are we
Yeah.
good with, okay.
I'm good with that. And then, you know, if you have the one-time permit and then you've got,
Inspect it the first time
and then if you've got like
Complaints
problems or
things, sure.
complaints,
Then-
obviously.
yeah,
complaints come up, then.
Right, yep, then we would address it.
He's got
Yep.
10 chickens in there.
Yep,
Does he?
we can revoke.
Dwight?
We'll send the chicken police to go out there and count the chickens.
Do they even have to go out in foul weather?
Deputy Chief
I mean,
Matt Johnson? Let's go.
Counting chickens is better than counting honeybees.
A little
That's
easier.
awesome. Okay, good with that?
Yep.
Okay, number 9, other business, general updates.
Okay, so I will go through a couple here. There's a couple of open spaces in our downtown. WR Home, who owned WR Littles, that space is open now. So that is the old Loso home that is right next to White Peony and the old Fire Hall Village Hall that we had on the corner. Yep. So that space is open, and then also Pine and Fiber, which was located right next to the Minnesota Street Market, connected in that space. That space is open as well. So we've been trying to direct folks over to those spaces. It's not very common that we have open space like that. And then also next week, the council will be looking at a plethora of different things, but one of them is the retail cannabis ordinance is scheduled for consideration. And how that was drafted was a limitation on the number of retail cannabis operations in the city. So that would be limited to, if the city gets approved for a municipal one, no more than one other retail.
When do you find out if you get approved?
Anyone's guess.
Right?
Yeah,
Okay.
anyone's guess, yeah. So some of the private entities have been notified, like cultivators and things of that nature. But as far as I know, no municipality has been notified yet, other than we need more additional information on A, B, and C kind of thing. But there hasn't been license approvals. Also, we've had some conceptual plans for Industrial Park Phase 2. There's just a lot to figure out with that, including lift station needs and infrastructure needs, where the best spot to situate a lift station is to capture the most area. And then also the complicated factor of cost and what we would have to do to make that a reality, whether it's grants, more bonding requests, things of that nature. The council did have a bonding resolution for next year's legislation cycle to target the Industrial Park Phase 2 for a potential bonding request. So probably would take a couple different sources to make something like that work, because there's the lift station costs and then there's the utilities to extend from the lift station to whatever that service area would be. some housing, just continue to try to work on some housing stuff. Read a really interesting fact from it's not fact, it's from the National Association of Realtors, a survey that they put out. The average age of a first-time home buyer is 38 years old in accordance to that. Last year it was 35. So that number continues to increase, which is, it's pretty eye-opening. And there's a lot of
34
factors that go into it. And housing just continues to be it's a very complicated topic. There's also a record number of single households. There's 30%-ish of all households are single households now. Just so that's different than traditionally in the past. So those housing challenges will continue, and housing will continue to change and morph from what we've seen in the past, I think.
Okay.
And then some more industrial park building will be going on. We call it the Tyler Bragelman project. That's the one where they constructed a couple buildings. They'll be doing 3 more of those buildings coming up here. And then there's a chance I may not be at the July meeting, and I more than definitely will probably not be at the August meeting because I'll be on paternity leave again.
Congrats, man.
Yeah, so, we're trying for a whole starting lineup plus a 6th person off the bench.
Congrats,
so,
man.
Future Minnesota Lynx of 2040.
Is it another girl? Do you know yet?
It's another girl.
Another girl.
Yep.
So if that's the case, then who takes over for you during these?
Yeah. So I anticipate 3-4 weeks or so that
Yeah.
I'll probably be out. So we will have SEH filling in during that time. And I have a call with them on the 18th, but we'll probably have a very familiar face for some of you. Therese Hafner may be the one that fills in.
Okay.
So
cool.
It'll be absolutely seamless.
Awesome.
Because she's very familiar with the community.
Great.
So, and I'll continue to keep the commission updated prior to that on things that are coming up in the agenda. One thing we will have is Mark Martini owns the lot that's just north of the House Food and Tap.
Mm-hmm.
That is currently zoned R3 multifamily. That will go to a proposed B1 downtown commercial. And that's part of some of the enforcement that we've had to do with some activities on that site. And that was one of the options that we provided to them to pursue. So it matches our guidance for our comprehensive plan and such, and gets that site from a legal non-conforming use to a legal conforming use.
Okay. Anything on Laser Dentistry place?
Other than it was sold, and I heard it's, is it insurance agents?
Yep.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Casey's?
Other than
Like
just
I ask every time,
other
but-
than just discussions that the council has had.
Okay.
Yep. And we had 2 grand openings.
Yep, saw that. That's
Blush
cool.
Salon and Well and Company.
Awesome.
Yep. So
Great.
yeah, a lot of things going on out there. So
The old elevator, the old feed.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
not really. Where we were at with that project was financing and looking at analyzing if like TIF, tax increment financing, or tax abatement would be worth it for them to pursue. There's a large cost investment and upfront cost with that. You have to get an inspection, and inspection has to be this A, B, and C report that costs a significant amount of money, and then there's the application process that could be upwards of $50,000 just to go through that. So if the property value now is, let's say, $100,000 and it is increased to $200,000, but $50,000 goes towards just establishing that, is the juice worth the squeeze, essentially? Like, is it worth them to maybe go through that and then only capture, $20,000 or $10,000 in potential tax recoup? So we've been trying to go through that and understand that, and then they also continue to go through some schematics and then work with their lenders on other potential options to move the project forward, at least the first phase of that project.
Cool. If nothing else, I'm going to go to number 10. I move to adjourn. I move motion to second. All in favor? Aye. No one's opposed? Thank you, everybody.
Little insane in the membrane, right? But, you know,